Welcome to this lecture on the principles of ecology. Today, we are going to explore a fascinating concept called vertical stratification. If you have ever wondered how a single forest can support thousands of different species without them constantly fighting for the exact same space, you are in the right place. Let us dive in and see how nature solves this problem. To understand our topic, imagine walking into a massive, bustling skyscraper in a busy city. The basement is dark and quiet, the middle floors are filled with busy offices, and the penthouse gets the most sunlight. A forest, particularly a tropical rainforest, operates in the exact same way. Instead of everyone trying to cram onto the ground floor, nature has cleverly stacked life vertically. This brilliant architectural design allows thousands of different species to live in the exact same geographical area without constantly fighting over the exact same resources. Now that we have our skyscraper analogy in mind, let us formally define what this means in ecology. Vertical stratification is the vertical layering of a habitat. Specifically, it refers to the arrangement of vegetation into distinct horizontal layers based on their height. In a mature ecosystem, such as a tropical rainforest, this structure is highly complex. By organizing plants by height, the ecosystem creates a multi-tiered environment where different organisms can find their own specific niche, much like finding the perfect floor in our apartment building. Let us break down these specific layers, starting from the very top. The highest level is the emergent layer, which consists of the absolute tallest trees. These giants poke right through the main roof of the forest to reach direct, unfiltered sunlight. Just below them is the canopy. You can think of the canopy as a dense ceiling of leaves and branches. It acts like a massive solar panel, capturing the vast majority of the sun's energy before it can reach the layers below. Moving further down our forest skyscraper, we leave the bright canopy and enter the understory and shrub layers. Because the canopy blocks so much light, the environment here is significantly darker. The plants that live in these middle layers are shorter and highly shade tolerant. They have adapted to survive on very little sunlight, often waiting patiently for an older tree to fall and create a gap in the canopy, which would finally allow a beam of light to reach them. Finally, we reach the very bottom of our vertical ecosystem, known as the forest floor. This is the darkest layer of the entire forest, where very little sunlight ever manages to penetrate. Instead of lush green bushes, the ground here is typically covered in decomposing leaves, organic matter, and various types of fungi. While it might seem bleak, this layer is absolutely crucial for recycling nutrients back into the soil, feeding the massive trees that make up the layers high above. Why does this vertical layering matter so much to the survival of an ecosystem? The primary reason is that it drastically reduces competition among species. By creating distinct microhabitats, or tiny, specialized environments at different heights, the forest can support vastly different forms of life. Because the canopy blocks wind and sun, the temperature, humidity, and light levels change dramatically as you move downward. A bird needing dry, bright conditions thrives at the top, while a moisture-loving amphibian thrives at the bottom. This stacking is the secret engine driving incredible biodiversity. To truly understand how these distinct microhabitats form, we must look at the main resource that drives vertical stratification, which is sunlight. As light travels from the top of the forest down toward the floor, it does not just pass through empty space. It gets absorbed and reflected by countless layers of leaves. This gradual reduction in light is a process we call canopy light attenuation. By understanding how light decays as it moves downward, ecologists can predict exactly how dark a specific layer of the forest will be. This brings us to the mathematical model ecologists use to calculate this loss of sunlight, known as the Beer-Lambert law for canopy light attenuation. Let us break down the formula. I sub z represents the light intensity at a specific depth within the forest. I sub 0 is the initial light intensity hitting the very top of the canopy. The constant E is the base of the natural logarithm, modeling continuous decay. The symbol K is the light extinction coefficient, showing how effectively the leaves block sunlight. Finally, LAI stands for leaf area index, measuring the total area of leaves above us. As the leaf area index increases, the light intensity decreases exponentially. Now that we have our formula, let us see this with a concrete example. Imagine a tropical rainforest receiving an initial sunlight intensity of 1,000 units at the top. The forest has a light extinction coefficient of 0.5 and a total leaf area index of 6 down to the floor. We want to calculate the light reaching the bottom. We plug our known values into the formula, multiplying the extinction coefficient of 0.5 by the leaf area index of 6 gives us an exponent of -3. Evaluating e to the power of -3 gives approximately 0.0498. Multiplying this by our initial light gives a final answer of 49.8 units. This means less than 5% of the original sunlight makes it to the bottom. Let us look at another scenario, working backward to find the required leaf density. A specific fern can only survive if the light intensity is exactly 135 units or less. The initial sunlight is 1,000 units, and the extinction coefficient is 0.4. We need to find the minimum leaf area index. We plug in our known values and divide both sides by 1,000, showing the fern needs 13.5% of the original light. To isolate the variable from the exponent, we take the natural logarithm of both sides. The natural log of 0.135 is approximately -2.002. Dividing this by -0.4 gives a final leaf area index of approximately 5.0. This means at least 5 layers of leaves are needed above the fern. Now that we have calculated how light behaves, let us look at a visual representation of these layers. On the left side of this diagram, you can see the height axis, ranging from 0 to 50 meters. Notice how the vegetation is distinctly tiered. At the very top, the emergent layer breaks past 40 meters. Below that is the dense canopy, followed by the understory, the shrub layer, and finally the forest floor at 0 meters. On the right side, observe the downward arrow representing light intensity. It starts at 100% at the top and drops to less than 2% at the bottom. This perfectly illustrates the mathematical decay we just calculated, showing exactly why different plants and animals are restricted to specific heights. To wrap up our lecture, let us review the key takeaways. First, vertical stratification is nature's ingenious way of maximizing space and resources by stacking habitats on top of one another. Second, by dividing a forest into distinct layers, an ecosystem can support a massive variety of organisms without them directly competing for the exact same space. Third, the dramatic reduction in sunlight, which we modeled with the light attenuation formula, creates unique microclimates at every single level. Ultimately, this vertical architecture is the foundational reason why ecosystems like tropical rainforests are the most biologically diverse places on Earth. You now have a solid understanding of vertical stratification.